Okay, I'll go ahead and call the Budget Committee to order. Before we start, I think we have one order of business that needs to be taken care of.
Who for, by the way?
Kenny Rich.
Kenny Rich.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Kenny. Happy birthday to you.
73.
Wow.
He told you.
Wow.
You want that? You want that in a minute? You want me to do like Jerry had? Make sure it gets in a minute. Okay.
Okay, we do have a set of minutes for October the 18th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve. Any questions or concerns? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
In my part tonight, we don't have, the trustee just got the books closed today, so I don't have a finance report for you at this moment. What I do have for you is a proposal and then your input on some issues regarding the bonuses or premium pay or however you want to address it. In the original resolution, and Mike Jennings and the mayor and I have met, it does not, so there's two questions I have. Under the CARES Act, the emergency provisions for COVID began on January the 27th of 2020. This does not have a beginning date. Is everybody okay with that being the beginning date? I've also heard March. So in other words, I gotta know as of what date this starts.
I thought that we said that the date of our last meeting. We
No,
said
that
something
was our
like
cutoff date.
Okay, it's cutoff day.
But I
Cutoff
took
date.
it that if you were employee of the county prior to that, you were included.
Okay, so before though, because again, I'm gonna have people that were hired, let's say I've got somebody hired January 15th.
They get the lesser of the two.
Or no, not 2021,
Okay.
January 15th, 2020, before we even had a single case of COVID in this country.
So we started having issues here about March the 3rd when the tornado happened. That's when we had it.
Yeah.
I mean, the COVID cases started talking before then, back, you saying January 27th. You just need a starting date.
So why don't you say
got an
April the
ending date.
1st of 2020, because that
Or
was
March
after
1st, since
March
we
1st.
March, you know, once we had COVID going on about the same time we had to clean up for the tornado.
Yeah, March 1st sounds good.
May I, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
What is law? What they?
The CARES Act became effective, or the emergency declaration was January the 27th of 2020.
I think it'd be in the best interest to put it as that day to cover us legally.
Okay.
I mean, that's my opinion.
But now, if I understand right, Aaron, the CARES Act doesn't come into play with this funds for us now,
It
right?
doesn't. It just goes into play of you've got to have a beginning date, and since we're basically centering this all around COVID, you can use any date you want to, you know. So I'm just asking you, what is the beginning date?
When was what's the CARES date?
January 27th, 2020.
But that still covers all our employees.
Yes.
That's all. So it's really irrelevant.
Right. So as long as they were here on January the 27th, you know, and still here, for the most part, still here on October 7th, although there's a couple of exceptions that we're going to cover.
Couple
So-
exceptions, what do you mean?
Well, the
Well, wait a
original,
minute.
go ahead.
Oh,
Hang
go
on,
ahead, I'm
hang
sorry.
on, hang
Go
on.
ahead.
March, are we gonna do March 1 or January 27th?
It's only a few days difference. 27 don't matter to me.
That sounds
Yeah.
good.
January
I got a
27th.
It
motion.
ain't gonna matter.
You agree?
All right.
Second, if it's a motion.
Why don't you just wait and put it all together in one motion, cause we've got some more things that we didn't think about and you
Yeah.
probably need to
Okay.
think about.
Yeah. The second thing was, we had issues of it. It also didn't say, it just says, so the original resolution said, basically, one-time bonus payment of $3,500 to each county employee who were employed by Wilson County on or before December 31st, 2020. Which again, I need a starting date for that since this is COVID related, but if they're hired before December 31, 2020, and then one-time bonus who were employed on January 1, 2021 or thereafter. What it doesn't say is, what about somebody who gets fired? Do they get paid? What about somebody who leaves for another job? Do they get paid?
I took it as it was people who were in our
Current.
employ the night we met.
All the way
That's what
to
you
the
said,
7th of
Mary?
October.
Okay, but we've got two potential exceptions to that, should you choose to accept them. One is the people who retired.
Legitimately retired. They
Under
didn't- They
TCRS.
didn't quit here and go somewhere else.
I understand,
They
but
do.
Do they
their-
get-
where's their retirement date?
That could be anywhere between January the 27th, 2020 and October the 7th, 2021.
I guess the first question is how many people does that involve?
I don't know. I'm just trying to get to the nitty gritty of who do I pay.
So I think our conversation was that if you were employed during that time, but you decided to retire, you know, say in September, okay, and you didn't go somewhere else to work, you just retired in the TCRS, then you worked during that time, you were one of our employees during that time, so try to compensate them. But if you left here, and went to another job somewhere and left us, no, and if you got fired, no.
That makes sense to me. I
Yeah.
mean, they were our people.
Yeah,
We thought so too.
yeah.
And the last exception would be for that same period of time, and the wording that we're using, by the way, is retired under TCRS, which means they retired and started drawing their state retirement. The other thing that we discussed, because it came up at the county commission meeting that night, if a person passed away in that same time frame as a county employee,
Not their family.
Love to see them covered.
And then on that was good, except Mike said they'll have to have an estate to give it to. We can't give it to a spouse, but we can give it to an estate. And so they may have to go do the estate, which is not a lot, but that's a law, you said.
Yeah, you can't write a check to a dead person.
No, I understand.
And,
Or their family.
you know, if the checks are going to the employee, which they are, you can't give it to an employee and expect
Well,
that his.
That'd be the same way you'd handle vacation leave for an employee, right, Aaron?
I missed something in context there, Tommy. I don't know what I missed, but I missed
Well,
something.
If
Somebody died.
if somebody
and-
dies while they're in our employment,
And
they
they
have
have some
vacation
vacation
pay.
time.
Oh, yeah,
time
we'd have to pay them out on their final check, but
Yeah,
again.
And that's how you
yeah.
go about doing that at that time,
But you
isn't
pay
it?
it out
Yeah,
to
it's a
the
little,
estate,
it's a little
wouldn't it?
simpler because we would do it to the estate generally, but, it's a little simpler because it goes really right on their W-2. We usually would do that last check in all honesty, even though it's probably not the technically correct thing to do. We typically would do that last check to them most of the time, in all honesty.
And I mentioned that day, you know, technically it's not supposed to happen.
Right.
The banks around here pretty much will cash that last check.
But that's the easy way to get it taxed correctly too. You get it on the employee's W-2, everything falls out like it's
What
supposed
worries
to.
me about it, Mike, will it cause a financial problem for somebody's family?
Well, I couldn't
know
answer
what I'm
that,
saying?
Tommy, but I can say this, you could have a potential legal problem in that somebody passed away a year ago and you give this check to their widow or widow, and somebody else in the family comes in and says, wait a second, I'll do my share. You know, they didn't have a will, so therefore surviving spouse gets part and the children get part.
And then the other piece that he brought up the other day was there's nobody to pay social security and all that stuff too.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that. And
Yeah,
I think
consider
it's
that,
almost gotta go to the estate.
Yeah.
I really
I
do.
mean, you're the one supposed to know
Well,
about this.
supposed to. yeah.
Well, that's what, I'm counting on you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Didn't do so good on the minutes, maybe I'll do better.
No.
Trying to help the mayor out.
Okay, those are the only four things?
yeah, and there's only a couple things that have come up this afternoon that I didn't get to discuss with the mayor and Mike Jennings, so if
Let
you
me-
wanna go ahead.
Hang on just a second. All right, so on that one, on situation number 2, we're saying retired is yes, if it's TCRS.
Under TCRS, yes, sir.
Quit, no.
Correct,
Fired, no.
correct.
Died if they have an estate, or do they always have an estate?
Technically, as we discussed the other day, according to county attorney, that basically everybody who passes away is supposed to have an estate. And if they, at this case, if they didn't, they may have to set one up in order to get paid.
But it's a yes.
It's a yes.
All right.
I think
Any-
you gotta
any-
do that to protect yourself. I really do.
Any
It's-
questions, any
It's a
comments?
yes with an estate.
Yes,
Yes.
it is.
Deceased with an estate.
In other words, if there's no estate,
They
we
don't
won't be
get
paying
paid.
anybody, correct?
Well, they could,
They
I
have
mean,
to
they'll
set
have
one
to
up.
fix it.
yeah, they can
Yep.
fix that.
All right. Sorry.
It's fine.
Go for it.
The last two was there were a couple of cases that were brought to my attention this afternoon, and look, let me say this to begin with. I hesitate to even bring this up because you can't make this perfect for everybody. But I did have a couple of folks where one of them started in August and left in August of 21 and left in October of 21. One started in September of 21 and left in October of 21. So are you gonna put a minimum length of service in this thing for somebody to get paid?
We talked about that Tuesday, and I told you that question would come up. People would say that this one worker shouldn't get the same amount that I'm getting. And that's, I had a word for it, but I won't use it.
Yeah,
No, we disagreed.
right.
But they quit and went somewhere else?
They did, but they were employed on October the 7th. They started in September, and on 10/10 they were gone. So on our date, on our magic date of October 7th, which is the date you have to be here to get paid, they were here.
That's kinda
And
hard.
Nobody likes that, but we set those dates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know what to do. Could
And
get
we-
sued, I guess, couldn't we?
Not
Well,
over
you
that
mean
amount, surely.
if you don't pay them,
Yeah,
If it's-
because we set those dates.
you set them now, you're gonna have a resolution this time amending it with these things we just talked about, assuming it passes here. And we can put that in there as well. I'm not speaking either way, I'm just saying.
So do we need to go back and amend that?
We're gonna, if you approve these things you've already talked about, there'll be a resolution amending that previous one.
I mean, I don't think anybody really set out to give somebody a bonus that worked 60 days and left us. I don't think was the intention.
So are you putting that in the form of a motion or to change the date?
Well, the question would be, what is then appropriate? 6 months? How long do they have to be here to qualify?
Yeah, don't focus on the two specific instances, focus on a date.
I'd say at least a year. I mean,
Well,
you think
We
that's
didn't
too
have it.
long?
We
Or we
didn't
didn't
have
have
a
it?
Yeah, in January 21, yeah, that we didn't have a year.
Did y'all run into this
6
over
months?
I was gonna say 6 months.
We did ours a little different.
there? You did yours a little different, okay.
You did.
We made a little, we did ours a little simpler. Just tell you, you were employed as of, I think we used May 1st. If you were employed as of May 1st, you got the bonus. So if you started if you started April 30th and you left us May 5th, you still got it. Good luck for you, because it was 5 or 10 people maybe that did that, and it wasn't worth us.
Yeah.
So we just said,
you
good
have
luck.
any
Not
idea
Nick, not
of the
Nick.
number?
I think you're gonna find the same thing. I don't think
That
it's,
makes sense.
I don't think it's gonna be a lot of
We
people.
did 1099s. I get it. If you were no longer an employee and qualified.
180 days?
1099.
That's 6
Or just
months.
leave it as it is?
You can leave, again, Michael makes a great point.
Keep
I
it
mean,
simple.
keep it simple. I'm just throwing these things out here because I don't want y'all to come back later and say,
Woulda, shoulda, coulda.
yeah, the best I can. I don't mean I'm not gonna forget something.
That's what we're doing now, is fixing last time. Right?
Well, and I dare say, once you fix it tonight, there'll be something else to come up.
Yeah,
Gosh.
But that's just the way it works.
And
And we
yes,
talked
sir.
about that the other day.
Thank you,
because-
sir. Real quick, keep in mind too, I know Weemus lost a lot of folks. They've left. I'm not sure the number, but I know for a fact 4 in the last week. So we gotta keep in consideration of that as well. I think.
yeah. Yeah, again, it's fine to leave it alone. There's not gonna be that many. These were brought to my attention this afternoon.
Yes, ma'am.
Does that fall under the rule that you put in as to if they quit, then they don't get the 3,500?
Well, we put a date in place that they had to still be employed, which was October the 7th. So they left after the date that we put in place.
But if they still quit, depending upon how you write the resolution.
Well, again, we gotta draw the line somewhere. We can move the date back. Now that we're meeting again on, whatever today is, November the 4th. We can change the date to November the 4th.
No.
Yeah, but, if we draw a date and say if you're employed as of this date, you get paid,
You have any idea?
I
how
thought
many-
we
how
done
many-
that last time.
We did.
With the 7th.
we did.
I think we need to honor that.
Yeah. How many- 5 people?
Probably, not a lot.
One more question.
Yeah.
One more, please. How many have we employees with, you might not know this, with the sheriff's office along with WEMA, how many have left us between that time?
I do not know.
I know that we have lost
Yeah.
quite a few,
probably more than what the schools have seen.
Yeah.
But I know for a fact we've lost a lot within our jail.
I would say-
So if they're considered essential employees, you get where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
So,
I would say in any given year, the turnover at WEMA and the sheriff's department, just by their sheer numbers, is gonna be greater than just about anywhere else.
You gotta
Just
have,
by
I agree with Tom, you gotta have a date somewhere.
Yeah,
yeah.
You gotta cut it off.
yeah.
Tommy, what do you think? Just leave it alone?
That's my opinion. We said it, we ought to stick with it.
Yeah.
And,
Cause if it ain't but 4 or 5 or less than 10, I mean,
No,
it ain't gonna be
I
that
mean-
big of a deal.
Yeah.
I mean, we, like Mike said, we can come back here next month and there's gonna be something else.
Yeah.
It's not perfect, but we're trying to do for our employees. There's gonna be some fall through the cracks, but now the way I viewed it that night, now if you'd already quit before we done this, you didn't work for Wilson County.
Right.
Now, that's the way I viewed it that night.
Yeah, me too.
Now, the retirees, we didn't discuss them, and the one or two we know deceased, we kinda brought that up.
Yeah.
But I'm fine with sticking with our retirees, of
Okay.
course.
Okay.
All right.
And I'll
Is
put
it-
it in form of a motion.
Is that
How
all
you
of
want
them?
it, Mike?
Is that all
I'll
the
Yeah,
second that.
situations?
yeah,
I'll
I-
second that.
I don't think this will change anything, but last thing is there's one particular employee I know of, and we don't do anything for one employee, but I'm gonna throw it out there anyway, cause I was asked to, who actually worked for us under a state contract. He was actually working for us, but not being paid by us from September 14th to March 29th, 2021. On March 29th, 2021, the state contract he was being paid under ran out, and he became our employee on March 29th, 2021, and continues to be our employee today. So the question was, since he was with us on September 14th to 20, but not on our payroll, and that's, I agree,
Well,
Tommy's
he's
shaking his
not our
head.
employee until.
I agree.
after.
Where his employment date with the county is when you need to.
And again, I said I would bring it, so I brought it.
But that's,
All right, now, what's your motion?
tell me what my motion is, like you want, rather than.
I think your motion is that we're gonna make the beginning date for this period January 27, 2020. You're gonna keep the expiration date October 7, 2021. You're gonna consider people who retired under Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System, not if they quit, not if they were fired, and then if they died during that time, you would make the payment to their estate.
Exactly.
I second that motion.
Sound like your motion?
Yes, sir.
Oh, and
exactly
it
like
says no to the state contract. Are you adding that in there?
Does that need
Well,
to be
he's just gonna
contracted work?
peg him in at what time he went, which
Yeah,
time he went.
we
to
don't
work
really
for us.
need to make a move on that, I just
Okay.
wanted, that
I
would
do,
just,
I do
Needed an answer.
understand, but he
Yeah.
wasn't, he wasn't
I
our
agree with you,
employee.
I agree. I
What
don't
about the
disagree.
part quit after October 7th?
It said no.
No, that's, right now, that's your cutoff point.
I mean,
They
it's
get
hard,
paid.
but
They get
when you
paid.
set a date.
Okay.
They get paid,
Alright.
yeah. I mean, our goal was to try to take care of employees, and
Yep.
whether you're here 1 day or 5 days, and you took the risk of getting caught, and that's what
And
it's
if,
about.
if we
Yeah.
move it a month from now, there'll still be people quitting, and we'll still be addressing.
Yeah, you'd never shape it
No,
perfectly.
but no, if they quit after October 7th.
That means they were still employed during October
They
7th,
get
so they
paid.
get the money.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
is that part of your motion?
Yes, that's the way,
Okay.
the way I understood
Alright.
it from the
Okay.
original.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I second it.
Any other comments, questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next.
If you'll take the 1 and 3 together, really, I know we'll vote on these separately, but these two, when we did the purchase for the Ag Center property last time, we talked about, during the meeting, that we would have 3,000 of that coming out of the general fund where we sold the old adult education building. That was 300,000 we got for the sale of that building. And, we were gonna take a third of it out of the Ag Center. So that's what these two budget amendments do. The one for Fund 124 takes a third of the purchase price of the property out of the Ag Center. The one from 101 takes the money out of the general fund and moves it over to the, so basically what both of these do, they wind up reimbursing the capital projects fund.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve. We vote on both of them at the same time?
They're on the same one.
You got two separate budget amendments. You can vote on it here,
So that's.
together. There'll be two separate resolutions on it.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
So that's a total of $306,000 going back into.
No, you got the wrong one there. I'm sorry, 1 and 3, where's the other one?
190,000.
It's right after, yeah, that's what I thought.
It's, these two.
It's one
No, these
84,
two.
201 for the
Yeah.
Ag Center.
I was looking at the-
$484,201.
I saw that. Okay, there you go, there you go.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was asking, I had a question on
sorry,
that, but I'm
I
good
thought
now. Okay.
All right, so it's actually the first and the third.
First and third, yes.
So both of them 124, you said something about 101 a while ago, that's why I got confused.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. What's the next one?
Gail is here to talk about this one from the Expo Center if you need her to, but basically she's requesting to move money out of travel into maintenance and repair services for a new software program that she needs, and she's here to address any questions you might have.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the Expo Center amendment. Any questions, concerns? All in favor say aye. Any opposed?
I don't see that in my.
That was the 6,000.
It's the
That was
6,000.
the 6,000 you just had.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else?
No,
Okay.
next is Board of Education.
Okay. Board of Education?
He's back.
You want me to go over mine again?
Please, we love listening to you.
Okay.
We didn't pay attention at first.
Wendell, don't forget animal control.
Huh?
Don't forget animal control.
Yeah, I got it right here.
All right, I'll run through this one again. First part up there of this budget amendment for coordinated school health and safe schools. This budget amendment aligns our budget with the grant that was approved by the state. It was approved last month, and we passed the budget well before October, so this aligns that. The next three sections, the summer learning camps, the bridge camps, and the mini camps, that takes money away from our budget that we did not spend. We also did not get it, so we're not holding any cash there. The state will grant us a new grant next year for next year's summer programs. The next one is for a TCAT instructor. We have a TCAT instructor that teaches welding at one of our high schools. And so we needed to move that into the other contracted services since that person is not an employee. And then the next one, y'all granted us 4 maintenance positions, and we're proposing to move one of those maintenance positions to be under technology to do joint work with maintenance. And then the last one is to move $1.5 million out of fund balance to help fund a new roof at Mount Juliet Elementary School. So.
The roof, Michael, you said, I thought I heard you say $500,000 is what you're getting.
$1.5
out.
million. Oh yes, approximately. I think the exact number from them is 480 something or 470 something. I'd have to get that exact number. The reason too we're getting that is there were some issues. We had some issues with what we thought was installation when the roof was installed 17 or 18 years ago. There's a 20-year warranty, and they're not backing away from that. They'll continue to come and patch that roof, which is what our warranty says. The problem is, though, every time they patch one spot, another leak opens up. So in another year and a half or so, they won't be coming to patch that. We'll have to be doing that at our dime. So out of a good faith relationship, they've said they'll donate the materials essentially for the new roof, or the majority of them, and we'll cover the rest of the costs. So be approximately $2 million-ish for that roof.
Will that be the best roof you can buy, Michael?
It will not, probably. It will probably not. That would be a 50-year warranty, probably something that would be very expensive. But it'll be good. I mean,
What kind of warranty will be on this new roof?
either 20 or 30 years, one of the two. We won't do anything less than 20. And generally, it's hard to afford anything more than 30 for us. So, and like I said, next month I'll have more information on what they recommend based on weather, based on school dates and stuff like that. So, but we want to do it right since this will be there for the next 20, 30 years. So it'll get all new insulation.
But
for
the
roof.
materials are gonna be roughly $2 million plus the labor.
No, total. That would be both.
That'd be all.
Yeah, we're thinking the materials will be somewhere between 500 and 600,000. So some of that budget amendment will cover a little bit of the materials. But that includes additional insulation is wet where it's leaking. So it's not just the membrane up there. It's all the way down to the
It's a
roof
new
deck.
roof.
Yeah.
Complete tear off new.
Correct. Yes.
You need a motion for all of them at one time, or?
Yes, that's just one budget amendment.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve school system amendment. request. Any questions or concerns? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Animal Control met tonight, and they put out a bid for a truck and got only one response, but it was a very, very good response, and Animal Control wanted to go ahead and send it on to budget. The truck is a four-wheel drive, two-door, 2500 pickup truck. It'll be a Ford. It's from Murfreesboro, Ford of Murfreesboro, for $29,035.
They wanna take it out of capital projects.
Yeah, coming out of capital projects.
Motion to approve.
Second for question, how long will it take them to get it? Do they know that?
No, I didn't ask that question.
I did ask them if they had it available or what it would take. They didn't know that.
How long it take?
Ain't many places got
No,
cars
no.
and trucks on
I
them.
mean, there's hardly anything on the lot right now.
Yeah, no, this one don't have
Okay.
anything.
Got a motion and a second. Any further questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any additional
Mr.
old
Hicks-
business, new business?
Mr. Hickson's here and he's got some pilot.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, they just got recommended this morning.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. The executive committee met today and considered two proposals, and some timing issues allow us they're asking us to go and see if we get some commitment so that some decisions can be made. I apologize, I didn't see anything, I only brought 5 copies, but maybe that's the members, you guys have seen it.
No, I've got one from this morning.
Yeah.
I'll pass it down.
This project is one of the growth industries we're dealing with. It is in the solar industry, solar panels, manufacturing, assembly.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The company would hire 314 people. Their average wage would be $55,000. Mr. Jones, I know you always ask how that's broken down. 150 of those folks will be production at $20 to $22 an hour. 75 in maintenance, welding, machinery, and then about 80 in office management and IT. But the average wage of these employees would be $55,000 across the board. Our base in manufacturing would be $41,200 to $45,000. So that's our average manufacturing wage in that $20 to $22 an hour. I didn't include all this in here. They would lease a building. That building, we're not considering any abatement on that. That building would pay $190,000 a year in real property taxes. We're looking at only abating the machinery that goes inside the building, and that's gonna be about $53 million worth. Again, highly mechanical, a lot of our positions are technical maintenance, IT type folks. They asked that we come before you and get it approved by the executive committee and the budget committee. We do not have this project in hand, but they'd like to have it approved. We have done this in the past. I went back and looked. We've done this 4 or 5 times that the budget committee has approved something and the project went someplace else where the project didn't get done. Their decision will be before the end of this year, maybe before the end of this month. The building is at the location of 840 and 109. In behind, I think maybe Thornton's, the new building going up there, about 250,000 square feet. I think it's a good manufacturing project. The executive committee looked at it this morning. They feel that it's also a good project. You see what the numbers would be. It's about $800,000 of total abatement. The company would pay $135,000 during this time, and the spreadsheet behind you that's attached sort of shows those numbers. I'm open for discussions or any comments from the mayor or mayors that may have been there, but I think it's a good manufacturing project that pays above wages, and we're getting there. as to what the intent of the executive committee and the budget folks have asked us to look at.
So this is something that the state of Tennessee and Tennessee Valley Authority are interested in?
They are, I think their commitment, I don't wanna speak for them, certainly since we're on TV and I said too much last time, but I think they'll have a substantial investment of somewhere between $500,000 or $1 million on the project. The state will, they're going and getting that approved, over the next couple of weeks. So in these projects, the state typically does a direct grant, and we anticipate that being somewhere in that limit, some area of $500,000 to $1 million on this project.
And you expect them to commit by the end of the year, Mr. Hickson?
That's what they tell me, that's what they want to do. And we're getting that. You know, a lot of times we say, here's what we think it qualifies for, pending approvals. And we ran across a project not long ago that made a decision that we had made, you know, some things on. They like to have really just a confirmation. Yeah, it's gone through the process. And I feel good about it, but again, we won't know until that group meets and the board of directors decide where it goes, here or in Georgia, I think it is.
Can, I'd make a motion to approve pending they, accept by the end of the year.
It is a nationally known company.
It is a Swedish company. This will be their headquarter operation here also. And that would make our second, ProMobile is our first Swedish company here, so.
I'll second that motion, but I wanna ask the mayor, how did he feel about the project since you were in one of the meetings?
You know, my goal has always been to trust GC that what he decides to bring to us is beneficial for Wilson County, or otherwise he would not bring it to us, and so that's where my trust goes. And so, yes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any additional comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last month, we looked at it, we pulled this project off from the budget committee. It was called Green Machine. Basically, I wanted to have a discussion with the executive committee before we brought it to you guys. Our process is that consultants, state of Tennessee, different people we work with, say, what do you qualify for? Where we do the analysis, pay the money to do it, and then at the end of the day, we come back and say, the project could qualify for this, but it takes 30 to 45 days for approval. You know, we have taken what the budget committee folks have said, that we just do not want to generate logistic jobs. And so quite a bit of discussion today with the executive committee was that, tell me why this project is different. And there's a few things that's going on here. What we're seeing is bigger buildings, less employees, a little higher wages, but a lot of money in personal equipment. This is gonna be almost a 400,000 square foot building, and you think they'd hire a lot of folks. But everything's becoming computerized, scanning. Mr. Jones, again, out of these 154 employees, 100 folks will be at $18 an hour. The 54 office IT marketing folks will be somewhere between $20 and $57 an hour. We're pulling back on these as sort of our instructions have been. We're not, but this one seems to be a really good project. I can tell you that the wage starts at $18.40, but they'll be paying whatever the wages are out there. Our logistics folks, the base now is $16, and most of them are paying $18 and $19 and above.
And the one you just brought to us is paying 22.
That's a manufacturing job, yes, sir. And that's where we want to go. I can tell you out of those 154 jobs, the 54 folks will make anywhere from $22 to $57 an hour. So do we break them out, or do I just give you an average of what it's going to be? It's a project we had a lot of discussion with. I don't know if the mayors want to add anything to it. We're, as an operational thing in our office, we're not going to be doing a lot of these letters in the future saying, we think you qualify for this. We're gonna be really more restricted, Mr. Jones. But this one we've been working on for about 6 months. We sent this thing out. I think it's a good logistics project. You'll recognize the name. But I don't want to be bringing a lot of these to you in the future like we discussed. So that's sort of where we are. It is unusual in that the amount of money that's going inside this building. Again, the building will bring about $266,000 a year in the real property. You know, developers come and contractors come here and build their buildings because they know they're at an advantage. And if we can continue to do some incentives to get the people in the buildings, they certainly want to build buildings here. Those are, I don't know if I'm gonna go over any comments for this morning, but the executive committee said, we know what we're doing here. It is a good project. We know we don't want to do logistics all the time. Last month, we brought you the Life Technology and the, can't say who they are, but the other company was paying almost $70,000 a year. So we're trending in the right way in what we want to do. I'd ask that you consider this, and I know the direction that we're heading. Mr. Jones, this is one reason we pulled it off last time, because I wanted to make sure the executive committee felt the same way.
Mayor Hutto, you have any thoughts?
The state has an interest in this project as well. They sent a lady to talk to us today as well about this project, and I think, you know, we talk about logistics companies, and we want good paying jobs here. And we led a charge not long ago to get white collar jobs. But we also know that the world has changed. A lot of white collar jobs now work from home. And so I think GC wants to bring higher quality than what we got, but we have been working with this for quite a while. The state has a pretty good interest in it as well. It is a nationally known company again that may or may not help us down the road, but it probably could help us down the road with something. So yeah, I mean, the executive committee voted 100% today, unanimous to carry it forward. Mike, anything I left out?
No, that's pretty much covered it. We had a brief discussion about, do we want to continue with the logistics companies, and that's something we'll talk about in the next couple of meetings probably. The state lady kind of indicated today that they were slowing down in that area as well.
Yeah.
I thought that's what she said.
And I think to clarify just logistics, we would like to have more top office people with those. Those together really make that average salary go up and give us a good chance to have some pretty good numbers. But we do have people that just want to, that's what they want to do. I mean, you know, everybody don't want to be in front office. So, now, you know, we're in a great time right now, but who knows how long that'll last. But
We thought it was a worthwhile project at the end of the discussion.
The state has committed $500,000 of direct grant. TVA has directed probably about $250,000 in credits and a direct grant. But we all understand what we're doing here, and I think we're all trending in the right way.
It's not a match grant, is it?
No, it's sort of like that $500 million grant to Ford and $388 million to the community to do other things. So.
Okay, y'all heard the recommendation. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the Green Machine project. Any further questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
Thank you.
Okay, any additional business needs to be brought before the committee? Mayor, what's our timetable on the pay plan?
January.
Okay. That's when we'll get the data back.
So I go, yes, sir. They are starting to work soon on that, and then they'll work with each department head and try to drill down and make sure that we know exactly what our job descriptions are. And then they'll come back to them with these numbers and let those people look at them and say, yeah, okay, this is right or not right, or we want a better comparison. So, yeah.
Is there and I'll ask you and Aaron both this, is in January, is there an opportunity for us to take any type of action at all to help out employees?
Just, Aaron can speak to it as well, but just from our side, or from my position, I think we want to find out for sure before we start throwing money at some of these positions, you know, what we really need to get there. It's like the lady that called me from Channel 17 the other day, and she's talking about, you know, paramedics and EMTs and us shutting stations down. And I said, well, you know, we don't have all our people in one place like most counties do. Our county has decided to do 24/7 people, so we got them all over. So if we shut down a station, you know, Joey's only going to, he's not going to shut down Lebanon, Watertown, and Mount Juliet. He's going to shut down maybe a station, like say Noreen or Statesville, that only has 2 calls that day, and so he would just bring those people in. But that hadn't happened but twice in our meeting today with him. But I said at the same time, you know, you're talking about, you know, let's say our pay, but, you know, we're in a place where we have a lot of jobs here. So, you know, when you want to work as an EMT, you know, we can raise our pay, you know, and then once we get that pay up, and you'll be talking about Mount Juliet or somebody else, because now we'll steal their people over here. I mean, they just go back and forth on swapping out. So the deal for us to look at is that there's not a lot of EMTs and paramedics there, but it's about the job. If I can go work somewhere Monday through Friday and not have nights and weekends, and make a good salary, or I can go work for WEMA and go 24 on, 48 off. Got to find something to do those 48 hours, and I got to stay with my family one night. So that makes some of these jobs hard for us. So I said all that to say, we want to look and make sure that, you know, we've got the right amount of money to throw at it, and to make it that we've compared to everybody else and we know what we're doing. And then the second thing, you know, people have said, hey, what about, we got a fund balance, why not put that money in fund balance and pay them? But you really can't afford to do that. And I just jotted this down here. You know, we have told y'all from day one, we got the ARP funds that we're going to use to backfill some of the projects you guys have already committed to. Essential worker pay is one, which is 3.5 million. The radio system for WEMA and the sheriff for 3.5 million, 1.7 million for the WEMA stations they're talking about down there. School board's talked about getting some land, so you'll need some money for that if you get in that particular part. Possible judicial building to start plans on it behind the jail that you asked me about the other day. Hopefully we don't need any more money for the jail, but we don't know until that project is done. We got one I mentioned about putting a rooftop over here on the grassy area of Veterans Park, and then a sewer extension to a fire station. So that money there would come from, and we've already designated, would come from our fund balance, so it would run that down pretty good. Now, we're hoping that once we hear from CTAS, and we believe it all will work, but once we hear from them, then Aaron will say, hey, here's these projects, and he'll send it to the Horn Group that will bless it and say, yeah, you can backfill that money. And so then we'll be in good shape, but until then, we don't know. So if you take money out of fund balance to give to employees, you're saying also to the next commission, you might do a tax increase. I mean, that's a guarantee now. And you've talked to us before about you can't obligate another commission or you can't obligate another group for guaranteed money. So to me, that's not a conservative way to look at it. So yes, let's look at it in January. Let's play hard. We'll be working our budget in March, and we'll be ready to go. You just give them $3,500 or $1,750 to also, which was a good thing, I think. So I would say at least get to January and February, see where we are, and then see what the need is. But taking it out of fund balance is tough, because once you raise that pay, you ain't gonna take it back from them. I mean, I would think that would be tough. So I think we're in good shape in this county because all of y'all have been conservative and worked hard. We got a decent fund balance because we got COVID money, just like they do. That y'all said a while ago, man, I didn't know it was that high. Well, this COVID money has helped us. But that's because our county has flourished during a time that everybody else has suffered, and we haven't had to use that. And we've been, and then we didn't spend it. We backfilled our own money, which helps us be conservative. So y'all done a good job, and I think you want to continue to be conservative and have money for a rainy day, because we don't know what. I mean, we don't know. We think we're out of it, but we don't know that for sure. So long story short, give us to January and February to do a good job of telling you what we really need, and then have this conversation. Aaron?
I agree with what you said. You know, my main concern when you separate these two things, and so there's two questions here. You asked me, can you? And I think my predecessor was famous for saying, well, yeah, you can do whatever you want. So can you? The answer is yes. The problem that I have with it is I have a problem, and what I've tried to iterate by my discussions and by sending letters out is this doesn't come without us having to pay for it in the form of raising revenue. And I really don't like to separate the vote unless we have to, because it's really going to be disconcerting to me and to a lot of people for somebody to stand up and say, well, sure, I'm for raising pay for public safety workers. I'm all for that. So I'll vote for that, but I'll vote against the tax increase. And that is, you know, I really want them both on the table at the same time if I can get them. And the only time I can get that is at budget time. So if I can't get that, then y'all just need to understand, again, fund balance, as I've tried to reiterate over and over again, fund balance will not carry this. It will not.
Okay. Thank you. I wasn't the only one asking that question, but I thought I'd throw it out there to get a clarification.
Question for the mayor about the pay plan.
Yes, sir.
When it comes, will it be broken down enough, and using WEMA employees as an example, we hear the hourly rate, and that's sort of misleading a little bit when you work a 24-hour shift.
Yes, sir.
But the numbers for me that I'd like to see are the hours worked yearly and the annual pay of two people of equal value.
Yes.
Will it come that way to us?
It will, and it can come, I mean, you know, we work hard at it and have a lot of people that are involved in it. But if it needs to be brought down to where he comes by and says, hey, I'll take WEMA and I'll take the sheriff's office this budget meeting, and I'll take the other offices the next budget. He can come and, I mean, he's done all the work, and so it's all there, and they'll black out the names or whatever so that we don't know who we're talking about, just give you the positions. But I mean, we're paying him, he'll do whatever you ask him to do. You know,
Well, that's why I asked.
Yeah, and we can do this. So we'll just, at that time, we'll try to present it, you look at it, and you say, I want some more stuff talked about, then we'll spend some more time talking about it.
Well, the reason I asked, and let's use Sumner County, because that's what we keep hearing about. But if an employee over there is working half as many hours a year or twice as many hours a year for X number of dollars as our employees are, we need to break it down apples to apples. You see what I'm saying?
We do, and those are normally not right, because Joy and the sheriff both would tell you that 2 years ago when we did the study, or 3 years ago when we did the study, we were above them. We were in great shape, and in these last 2 years, people have bumped it up, and we haven't, and so that's how you get behind. We're not daylight dark difference, okay?
Well, that's...
Yeah. But we can. That's what we've said before. Our people here are good people. We want good people in the back of an ambulance putting an IV in your arm if you're in trouble, and we don't want the seconds. We want the best, and we're going.
Well, we need to pay a competitive wage, but we need to pay it for the same thing that somebody else is paying it for.
Right. Yes, sir.
And what the gentleman who does the pay study has done over the past few years, and y'all know I'm involved in the pay study, but not integrally, hard to say. I sort of see it after the fact more than anything else.
More than
The HR
directly.
and everything else. Okay, so the thing is he does try to bring everything down to an hourly rate. So it doesn't matter. You know, he's gonna equal it out. If somebody's working 24 over here and somebody's working 12 over here, somebody's working 8 over here, he's coming up with an hourly rate that makes things competitive. In other words, he's not ignoring the fact that this person is working a different number of hours than this person. That's not being ignored in that process, at least not to my understanding.
No, sir. No.
Yeah.
But we can drill down this time. A lot of times when we started, you know, and this time we've started quicker, and I'm thankful. We don't have a lot of time before it's budget time, and you guys got to make a decision. This time we'll have it pretty early, and so we can drill as much as you want to drill. And glad to do so, because we want you to know what you're voting on and what you're voting for, and who you're compared against.
Well, that's what, I mean, the two numbers to me that would be most important is hours worked in a year and then the gross pay for a year. And as long as you're comparing two equal employees,
Yep.
you know,
Yes, sir.
with the
And
same
that's what-
qualifications.
And that's what the job subscription should do. And as well, you know, and people used to say when I was in the school business, you know, I can go across the line and make $15,000 more, and, you know, when you got to checking, that's not necessarily true.
Well, that's why we
But we
need-
always, but it was always 15,000, and you'd think it would change every now and then.
But when
Yeah,
we
it
was
never
at the
did.
same level as Sumner County, and 11 of the people from Wilson County left here and went over there, and when we get back to the same level, they'll leave over there and come back,
Well, I
so we'll keep
understand.
chasing it up and down, I think.
And I know we've lost some people to Mount Juliet, okay, but realistically, Mount Juliet only has so many spots to fill.
And when they're filled, they won't
So
be
we
anymore.
can't really lose that many people to Mount Juliet at the end of the day. I know Sumner County has taken some of their American Rescue Plan dollars and have basically invested that money for 2 years. I don't think that's the best thing to do, because basically at the end of those 2 years,
Stops.
how do you pay those people?
Yeah.
You've now committed to pay them with money that's not recurring.
You're gonna raise people's property taxes is the only way you're gonna pay
So
'em.
I don't know why they don't just do that to begin with, because but anyway, that's neither here nor there.
You gotta keep it on
The
recurring.
point
money.
is that it's a perfect storm, because not only are we losing, have we lost some to Mount Juliet? Again, there's only so many that Mount Juliet can take. They can't take everyone we got. And we've lost some to Sumner. We probably, I don't know, lost some to Rutherford. I don't know where all we've lost them to. But we've lost a lot of them, I'm sure, to hospitals, because the hospitals are hiring them up. So, it's just, we're competing. Well, my point is we're competing with people that we weren't even competing with in the past. We weren't competing with
And
hospitals.
not only that, we're losing people to other type of jobs.
Yes.
Amazon.
Yes.
I mean, they're paying more, and I'm sure they're not, the threat of bodily harm is not near as much.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
And the same thing that we are fighting for, which is higher paying jobs, also cuts our throat. Because when we recruit those higher paying jobs and those lower paying jobs like cafeteria worker, you know, but we want higher paying jobs, but it's a two-edged sword.
Okay, is there anything else from the committee? Anything else from the gallery? Yes, ma'am.
And you may have discussed this, and I didn't hear it. I've had a few county employees asking when their bonus payment is going to come out.
We are shooting for November the 12th. Basically, Justin and Diane got ahead of me on that and started promising the 12th. So
It worked, didn't it?
we're shooting for the 12th. I think we're on pace, but again, it'll probably be done in 2 rounds. It'll probably be done, 1 round will be for those active employees who are still here. Those will come first. And then these other checks that we were talking about today for retired or deceased, they'll probably be a little bit later.
One more motion?
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Thank you very much.